Klara did not show the painting to anyone, not to Samuel, not to her father. She hid it behind a stack of landscapes meant for the old town square and tried to forget the two figures staring out from the canvas. She could not forget. For 3 days, she painted nothing. She repaired brushes, she stretched canvases, she helped her father clean clock mechanisms, her fingers moving over brass gears while her mind circled back to the bridge, to the missing shadow, to the face behind the face. On the 4th morning, she did something she had not planned. She went to find Agnieszka. The bakery on Nerudova Street where Agnieszka worked was closed. The baker's wife told Klara that the girl was at home with her mother, that she was not well, that she did not want visitors. Klara said she was a painter and that she wanted to draw the girl's portrait. A gift for her recovery. The baker's wife looked doubtful, but Klara's eyes were persuasive in the way that eyes accustomed to seeing more than they should can sometimes be. Agnieszka was sitting in a chair by the window with a blanket around her shoulders. She was 16, and she looked younger. Her eyes were wide in a way that had nothing to do with surprise and everything to do with a terror that had not yet faded. Klara sketched while they talked. Small talk at first, the bakery, Nerudova Street, the weather. Then Klara asked carefully, "What do you remember from that night?" Agnieszka's hands tightened on the blanket. Nothing. Her voice was flat, stripped bare. Walking home, the bridge, then ground, almost dawn. "You said one word when they found you, run." "Did I?" She stared at the wall. "I do not remember saying that." Klara reached into her bag. She had brought a small study, a quick sketch she had made that morning of Viktor's face. Not the painting with the second figure, just his face, from memory. She held it up. "Have you ever seen this man?" Agnieszka looked at the sketch. Her face changed. Not recognition exactly, something deeper, something that lived in the body, not the mind. "I do not know him," she said, but her hand went to her neck, to the 2 small marks hidden beneath her collar. She touched them the way a person touches a bruise to confirm it is still there. "But you have seen him." Agnieszka shook her head. Then she stopped. Her eyes went distant. "Someone on the bridge, that night." Her words came in small pieces, as if she were pulling them from deep water. "By the railing, looking at the river. I walked past. He did not move, but—" She trailed off. "But?" Someone else moved, behind him, like a shadow that was not attached. She was trembling now. "I thought it was the lamplight. Then I do not remember anything else." Klara put away the sketch. Her hands were shaking. She managed to smile at the girl, to thank her, to say something kind about her recovery. She does not remember what she said. She remembers the cold that settled in her stomach when Agnieszka described a shadow that moved independently of the man who cast it. A shadow that hunted. That evening, Klara prepared a test. She set up a fresh canvas. She mixed her paints carefully, and she painted Viktor from memory, deliberately, with the conscious intention of watching what her hands did. She painted his face first, the jaw, the brow, the dark hair. She painted the eyes last, the way she always did with portraits, because the eyes were where the truth lived and she wanted everything else in place before she opened that door. When she finished his face, she stopped. She looked at the background. Empty. Dark. Just canvas with a wash of raw umber. She watched her hand. Nothing happened for several minutes. Then her fingers moved, not with the deliberate control of a painter choosing a stroke, but with the involuntary precision of a hand writing in sleep. Her brush dipped into ivory black. It touched the canvas behind Viktor's shoulder, and it began to paint a shape she had not chosen. She let it happen. She watched her own hand paint the second figure into existence behind Viktor. The same face, the different eyes, the blood. When it was done, two things happened. First, the candle on her work table guttered violently, the flame bending sideways as if blown by a breath that came from the canvas rather than any window. The same thing that had happened with the bridge painting. Second, from the floor below, her father cried out. A small sound, quickly stifled. Klara froze. She waited. Then she heard the sound of his chair scraping, his footsteps crossing the workshop, the creak of his bedroom door. He had been sleeping in his chair again. He had woken from a nightmare. Klara looked at the painting, at the second figure, freshly painted, still wet. At her father's bedroom, one floor below, her paintings did something. She did not yet know what, but they reached beyond the canvas. They touched the world around them. 3 days later, Samuel brought another note. The same handwriting, the same black ink, the mill on Kampa. Tonight. She should have refused. She had visited a girl with bite marks on her neck. She had watched her own hand paint a predator behind the face of the man who had invited her. She had felt her paintings pull the air from a room. She went. Viktor was waiting by the mill. The great wheel turned slowly in the Chertovka Canal, wooden paddles cutting dark water. Kampa at night was a different island than the one Praguers walked by day. Quieter. Older. "You came," Viktor said. "I had questions." "That is not why you came." He was right. She had come because the space between them on the bridge, the space where his hand had almost touched her face, had occupied more of her thoughts than any question about shadows or missing girls or paintings that blew out candles. He took her through Kampa, across footbridges she had never noticed, through gardens behind locked gates that opened at his touch, down lanes that did not appear on any map of Prague. He walked closer to her than he had on the bridge, not touching, but close enough that she could feel the cold that surrounded him, that permanent chill that was not weather but something intrinsic to what he was. "You are cold," she said. "Always." "Since when?" "Since a night in 1680 that I would prefer not to recount." They sat on a stone bench in a garden she was certain no living person had visited in decades. The trees were old. The walls were covered in ivy that had been growing since before Klara's grandmother was born. Viktor was quiet for a long time. Then he said, "You went to see the girl." It was not a question. "Anezhka," Klara said. "She described a shadow that was not attached to you, a shadow that moved on its own." Viktor's jaw tightened. "I know what she described." Klara looked at his hand on the stone, pale, still. It rested on the bench 3 inches from her own. She did not close the distance. Neither did he. But neither of them moved away, and in the cool garden, surrounded by the smell of wet stone and frost on ivy, those 3 inches became the most charged space in Prague. "I painted you," Klara said, "after the bridge, and again yesterday. Both times a second figure appeared. My hand moved on its own." "What did it look like?" "You, but hungry." Viktor closed his eyes. When he opened them, the hunger she had painted flickered across his features like heat lightning and was gone. She did not flinch. Something in his face broke very quietly. "You should not be near me," he said. "That is the second time you have told me that, and the second time I have not left." They walked home through Malá Strana, past the church of Our Lady Victorious, past the Lobkowicz Palace, its windows dark, its Baroque facade pale as bone in the moonlight, past the corner of Tunovska Street where 3 weeks ago the second woman had vanished. Viktor slowed as they passed that corner, His posture changed, not dramatically. His shoulders straightened by a fraction. His head tilted at an angle that was not vigilance but something older. Something that belonged in the body of a hunting animal, not a man. Klara saw it. 3 seconds, maybe 4. The muscles in his neck tightening, his breathing stopping entirely. His eyes, in the lamplight, shifting from their usual dark absorption to something that reflected light rather than swallowed it. 2 small points, like an animal caught in a lantern beam. Then Viktor pressed his hand against the wall, hard enough that Klara heard his knuckles crack against the stone. He held himself there, leaning into the wall as if the wall was the only thing keeping him from moving forward. His breathing resumed, rough, deliberate, not the breathing of a man catching his breath after exertion, the breathing of a man forcing himself not to move. Go! His voice was stripped down, raw, almost unrecognizable. Walk, do not run, do not look back, I will be fine in a moment. Klara did not walk. She took 3 steps toward him. No, not closer. She stopped, 3 steps away, close enough to see the veins in his hand where it pressed against the stone. Close enough to see that the cold radiating from him had intensified, as if his body was trying to freeze the thing inside it into submission. She waited. She did not run. She did not look away. She stood on a street in Malá Strana at midnight and watched a man fight something inside himself that was older than any building around them. It took 90 seconds. She counted them by the ticking of a clock in a nearby house. When it was over, Viktor released the wall. His hand left an impression in the old stone, 5 finger marks, pressed half a centimeter deep into masonry that had stood for 200 years. I am sorry, he said. His voice was his own again, quiet, controlled, exhausted. Do not apologize. Tell me what that was. Not tonight, please, not tonight. He walked her to her father's door. He looked at the clockmaker's sign the same way he had before, as if the house contained a memory he could not face. Good night, Klara. He left. She watched him go, and for the first time she noticed something she had missed before: the finger marks on the wall. Where Viktor's hand had pressed into the stone, the surface had changed color. It was darker, as if the stone had absorbed something from his touch, something that was not heat. The next morning, Klara pulled out a map of Prague. She marked the disappearances. She marked every spot where she had seen Viktor at night. The marks overlapped. The women vanished near places Viktor walked, but not on nights when Klara was with him, on the nights he walked alone. She laid 2 paintings on the floor beside each other. The bridge painting, the test painting. Same face, same second figure, same blood. The man she was drawn to, the thing that hunted Prague. The same body, the same face. She had watched one half nearly surface on Tunovska Street while the other fought it back against a wall. She sat on the floor of her attic for a long time. Her father's clocks ticked below. She was afraid, but fear and fascination are close neighbors in the human heart, and Klara had spent her whole life drawn to the things that lived in shadows. She would see him again, not because she was brave, because she needed to know if the man who had almost touched her face on the bridge was the same one who had put those marks on Agnieszka's neck. And if he was, she needed to know whether the man was stronger than the monster. She picked up her coat. She picked up her sketch of Viktor, and she decided.
If this story stayed with you, leave a like and subscribe to Immortal Hearts. Then tell me in the comments, what captivated you most, and where and in which year should the next story unfold?